Hey everybody, welcome to Miraculous Mamas. I am Liz Sandoz. Well, Presta. I just recently got married, so I'm getting used to saying the Presta part of it, but everyone knows me as Liz Sandoz, so I'm not sure how that transition works out. But I am so excited for today's episode with you guys. I have an amazing woman here, Nancy Anderson. She's a pre- and postnatal expert nutritionist. So she has tons of information for us about trying to conceive, how pelvic floor health. I know we talked about that before and it was a huge hit, and just so much information. So thank you for being here with me, Nancy.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, we were just chatting a little bit before we hit record. So I can already tell this is going to be a really good conversation.
I think so. Yes, I'm a trainer, nutritionist, and pre- and postnatal expert. So my demographic, my core customer client is 1,000% moms and moms to be.
Mm-hmm. And I know we have a lot of that here. And I want to talk to you real quick, I guess, about like trying to conceive. So, Vito and
I can talk about moms to be.
Moms
so
to
I
be.
work with a lot of those too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Aspiring mothers, like either that are planning on pregnancy in 6 to 12 months, currently pregnant, and then post-pregnancy and beyond. So yeah,
I like that.
PPC is actually the most important group, to be honest with you, because there's just so much coming. There's so much research now that supports what I have basically always thought, just from experience and intuition and my education, that the most important time to take, like getting healthy and getting fit, take it seriously, is 6 to 12 months. And that, I mean, health as in like, not just during the pregnancy, like for their entire life. It can affect certain things, brain development, mental health, cognitive, everything. It's really quite fascinating. I think the biggest wave that's coming is how serious even OBs and doulas or midwives are really going to get on board with telling their patients they need to properly train for pregnancy.
Yeah. Well, and I think that that's something that I really don't hear a lot about. You hear people trying to conceive and then taking a lot of different alternative routes when there's other things, that you could try. And there's a lot of health things that go along with that. And that's something that my husband and I have talked a lot about. We would like to plan to start trying like in a year. So this year we had talked about really trying to get our healthiest to become parents. And I don't know what that looks like for us,
Yeah. So, I mean, the three main things, and it's good that you mentioned your husband as well, because I think people always think mom, and you both are training for pregnancy. You both are, because dad's health also has been shown to affect baby at conception and beyond. So the main things, call out focal points that I focus on all of my programs for my TTC clients, is reducing inflammation, ironing out nutritional deficiencies, and getting their hormones to be balanced and healthy. All of those things are so important for baby's development. I mean, starting at conception. Right. So that's why it's like, okay, like I'm going to get off the pill next month and like I'm going to start eating healthy now. It's like, no, like if you're planning on getting off the pill in 3 months, like we need to start like today.
Right.
Like, and the problem is that the society, the lifestyle that we all have is stressful, and we all sit a lot. Like whether we work out 5 days a week or not, like we do sit a lot. That's just what happens, So you're looking at the body from like a mother's perspective. Like one, she needs to get her core in order, breathing properly. She needs to figure out her dysfunction, because I've never had someone come with me that doesn't have some level of core dysfunction just from our lifestyle.
Right.
And needs to iron that out, because whatever issues you have going into pregnancy will just magnify during pregnancy, whether you have a perfect training program, a perfect healthy lifestyle or not. Like, so core dysfunction is huge. But on the nutrition side of stuff, reducing the inflammation alone is going to increase your chance of conception.
Yeah.
So like there's a study that came out that showed if mom, only thing she changed, if mom just ate 5 servings of vegetables a day, it tripled her chances of getting pregnant.
Wow.
That's it. But that makes perfect sense if you think about it from like, me, I study this and this is my this is my life, So that makes perfect sense to me, because what does eating vegetables do? Well, 1, reduces inflammation. Right. 2, helps to iron out deficiencies. And 3, helps therefore stabilize hormones, including insulin levels, which is alone one of the biggest, most important hormones to control and make sure is healthy. So if you're eating a lot of processed foods, sugars, even like a lot of fruit, anything that's spiking your insulin, that's not really the diet you want to be on going into and really going through pregnancy. So it's really fascinating from my standpoint, because it seems like such an easy fix, but people aren't doing it. Like if you really look at someone's diet, they're not eating 5 servings of vegetables a day. And to be honest, I require 7. Mm-hmm. And a lot of functional medicine doctors require 9. Wow. So 5 is still like very low in like the grand scheme of what we consider ideal nutrition, But, people are not even eating 3 servings of vegetables a day. Yeah. Anyway, it's pretty powerful what nutrition alone can do. And you go back to like birth control. So birth control alone, it depletes you, right? I'm not saying I have anything against birth control or you shouldn't take birth control. I totally think it's like up to mom, or, a woman, like what she feels comfortable doing for birth control. And if she wants to take the pill, then she's going to take the pill. But you need to know like your vitamin B's and your folate and like other things get very depleted on the pill. So you don't want to go into conception depleted like that. Yeah. Because 1, again, affects baby's development, but 2, it directly affects your health, because you'll continue that deficiency being depleted typically throughout the pregnancy. And then there's this new kind of concept that we're all like adopting called postnatal depletion. Mm-hmm. And even if you have great nutrition, if you go post-pregnancy, you're breastfeeding, you're probably depleted in something. Yeah. And even if you have perfect nutrition, you can't really get away with just nutrition because of our lifestyle, because of how stressed we all are, because of how hard a lot of people work out because they're doing high intensity interval training, which is great, but that's burning through your magnesium stores, and we need supplementation to help us. Yeah. And that's something that's not really talked about, and that, like anyone going off birth control, like you guys need supplementation. Like you need to work with a functional medicine doctor or a doctor that's at least like educated enough to know the importance of not going into a pregnancy depleted.
Right. I feel like you just dropped like so much information. You're so knowledgeable, and I'm just like soaking this all up. I have a few quick questions. Well, first of all, I know I don't eat enough vegetables, but I'm huge on smoothies. So every morning I make a jam-packed smoothie because I know throughout the day it's harder for me to like get it. And I know that I have a lot of inflammation in my body, and that's something that my husband and I have talked about as well, because I have some gut health issues that I'm aware of, and there are things that I want to try to work through this next year, and just changing that, because it's also, I feel like I need to make a whole lifestyle change, before, and I would say I'm pretty healthy. I know my body, and there's certain things I know I really can't eat. So I stay away from dairy and gluten and stuff like that. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you're healthy. But I heard a statistic not too long ago about how malnourished the United States is.
Yeah, 1,000%. But we eat more than everyone else. It's just the food we're eating is not high quality nutrition foods. Mm-hmm. That gets us into trouble. Like really does, So we really need to take it seriously. Right. And the thing is, there's not, people don't have a lot of knowledge. This is one of the reasons why I started my membership site for women through all these phases, was to just give them their recipes and their meals and their guidance. Right. Because it's hard when you're like, okay, you need to cut out dairy, you need to cut out gluten, you need to stop eating inflammatory foods, you need to get a healthy omega-6 to 3 ratio, you need to take out all the omega-6 processed oils. People are like, what? You start losing them after a certain point. Right. So it gets to be really overwhelming. And when something gets to be really time consuming and overwhelming, people are way, way, way less likely to stay on board. Yeah. So like, I just wanted to create like easy weekly meal plans that you could just like open up on, Friday, grocery shop with your list, and then just start making the recipes that week. And even if you only stick to the lunches and the dinners, let's say, and you're navigating your own snacks, or you're navigating your own breakfast, at least I know that they're getting in a much more balanced variety. They're like checking off, the vegetable column. They have the right amount of healthy fats. They're getting their omega-3s, which is a big problem in the United States specifically, as we don't have a lot of omega-3s. And omega-6s that are processed are inflammatory. And then once you have this stressful, high sugar, high carb, high flour, whatever diet, your gut starts breaking down and you get leaky gut. And once you get leaky gut, then it's like, okay, now we need to heal leaky gut. Now we need to reduce the inflammation. Now we got to iron out the deficiencies. It can get really overwhelming. So I just try to, of course, I'm open to giving as much knowledge as my clients want, because I like to teach them like how to fish, not just like give them the fish.
Right, yeah.
But I do notice for some people, like they're just like, just tell me what to do. Like obviously, like what to do. So I'm just gonna, and then over time they start kind of learning why and how to read food labels and what foods to stay away from and all that stuff. Because it is nutrition is confusing. There's new research that comes out all the time, and you really do need to look to someone, whether it's like a podcast you listen to all the time or books or a trainer that you're working with, to get, to kind of just get some guidance, because otherwise it can be like a part-time job.
Right. Well, and I feel like I guess I'm kind of that person. I love to learn, but I'm also like, just kind of tell me what to do and I'm going to learn through the process. I like that as well. But also learning your body. Not everybody's body works the same, and people need different things, and I've learned that a lot just because people have been like, eat this. Like one thing that my body doesn't do well with is nuts. Nuts tear me up. Even if I soak them, anything, walnuts are really the only nut that my body can handle. So if people...
Well, there's omega-3. That's good.
Oh, yay. And I like walnuts, but a couple times I was hiking and I popped some trail mix in and I got so sick. So there's something in my body that nuts and me don't do well together, So it's also just trying to, I feel like, be in tune and I feel like we're just in this wave of where we're not knowledgeable of our bodies. It's like, oh, I don't feel good now, not connecting that to the food that we're eating or, the things that are happening. But that's
actually the main reason. So I have a program called the 30-Day Slim Down. It's an elimination diet, which essentially takes out the major allergen foods. And then after 30 days of doing that, reducing inflammation, controlling insulin, replenishing all that stuff, then we add it back in. And that's why I start everyone on an elimination diet, is for that exact reason, because so many people are like, oh yeah, I feel fine, whatever. And that's okay, but let's go on this elimination diet. And 3 weeks in, and holy crap, I feel so different. I didn't even know I was feeling like crap, And then they learn things like, oh my gosh, I can't have quinoa. Quinoa is really, it makes me bloated, blah, blah, blah. Right. And a lot of the time, if you have a true allergy to something, truly allergic, it's usually a pretty serious reaction. But what we run into in the United States specifically is a lot of intolerances based off of a broken down gut. Mm-hmm. So I'm not sure how allergic you are to nuts, but that's common. Eggs are common. Dairy, obviously, gluten, stuff like that, soy. But sometimes after we heal the gut and fix the leaky gut, reseal it, then all of a sudden you can eat it.
Right.
And you can introduce it. And because some things like eggs, for example, that's a great healthy food, So it's a shame when people can't eat eggs.
Right.
So it's if you can try to heal the gut, and that's a lot of times intolerances, you can typically fix your body and then reintroduce. If you're truly allergic to something, you're allergic to something. And there's lots of reasons that could be. And then of course, whether you're intolerant or allergic, you definitely don't want to be eating it. If you know that every time you eat peppers, you get bloated, you probably have an issue with nightshades. Mm-hmm. So you need to take, even though peppers are nutritious and they're healthy and they're, all these things, they're not right for your body. And that's why the elimination diet works so well, is because you really get to learn your body, because there really is no one size fits all. There's a one size fits most, but throughout several weeks, you really need to educate your clients so they can tune into what's going on with them.
Yeah.
And speak and learn. And I find that that's most successful long-term with people, is to put them through something like that. And then they learn so much about their bodies. Then they can go into their normal routine after the challenge or the community is over, with a lot more knowledge about specifically what helps them thrive.
Right. I feel like that's so important too, is knowing what makes you thrive. Because I mean, I went through a phase in my life where I felt horrible, and I knew I wasn't depressed. But I kind of felt depressed, and I just didn't have good energy and all these different things. And I worked with a homeopathologist, got my hormones tested. My T3 and T4 were way off. For people, that's your thyroid, a part of your thyroid. And then my DHEA, which is your female testosterone, it's supposed to be at your peak, like in your mid-20s. And that's when this was happening. And I had that of someone in my mid-40s. So for me, I know I talked about this before, just getting on something long-term for me wasn't an option. I didn't want to just take a pill for life. So I worked with her, and it took actually a couple of years for me to heal my thyroid. And it was different supplements and changing some lifestyle things. But within a couple of years, man, I know that seems like a super long journey. I mean, I felt better right away, but to be where I didn't need those supplements anymore was a couple of years. And just the difference, like I would look at people who would like get up out of bed and get going. I'm like, how do you have the energy to do that? Like I could sleep all day, or I couldn't just pop out of bed and be like, oh, I'm going to go do this and this. I would like be so sluggish, and I knew that there was something off. And I'm so happy that I found the doctor that I did to work with, because she just, she knew what to look for to break things down, what to test for. And it just, I don't know, it made a huge difference. And I'm happy that now I know too, kind of things that are those triggers for me. Like if I'm not feeling well, like, okay, Liz, like you're also not taking care of yourself right now, and getting back on that. I want to take a minute to talk to you guys about a different kind of parenting, and that is a dog parent. I'm right now in the process of trying to convince Vito to let me get a dog. My brother-in-law and sister-in-law just got a Cane Corso, and he is about 8 months old and growing huge, and I am so in love. And I actually got introduced to Puppo. They make pet parenting so much easier by choosing the right food for your dog, and they know that every dog is unique. They create tailored nutrition plans and prepare personalized food, and they have a team of pet nutritionists that understand the science behind dog food. You get real food for your dog without fillers, there's zero junk in it, and there's a smart auto delivery system. You'll never have piles of food stacking up in the pantry. You'll always get the freshest food for your dog, and it's always a personalized nutrition system for your dog. You have an active dog, they're going to make sure that it's getting the right things that it needs. Personalization is so important. I had no idea that all of these different things were factors in choosing your dog's food. You have to take into consideration their age, their size, the mouth size, activity levels, special needs, sensitivities, what their healthy weight should be, flavor preferences, and even immunity for outdoors. My brother and sister-in-law's dog, his name's Romeo, and he loves to be active outside. So it was important for them to get something that helps maintain a strong immune system with powerful nutrients like vitamins E, A, zinc, and of course, healthy protein. The dog absolutely loves it, and I'm excited to share this offer with you guys because it is a great option, especially if you have a brand new puppy and you're figuring things out, or even when your dog's getting older, their health changes and you have to change with it. And it's awesome to have a personalized nutritionist for your dog on hand. If you visit puppo.com/babes, you'll get 14 days of personalized dog food delivered for only $9. That is Puppo, PUPPO.com/babes, and get 14 days of personalized dog food delivered for only $9. You've mentioned functional medicine doctor. I don't think a lot of people know what that is.
Okay, so that's probably true. So functional medicine is essentially like treating the root cause instead of treating the symptom. So a lot of Western medicine is about, okay, like your thyroid is low.
Right.
Put you on this medicine, like your TSH is low. Let's put you on this medicine to like get it into normal range, which again, talk about body specifics, like what is normal, you know? without pulling like TPO antibodies, for example. Like if someone has TPO antibodies, then okay, they don't even look for that in like the Western side. This is only functional medicine will look at it if it's, you know, a good functional medicine doctor. But then it's like, okay, you eat gluten. We need to take that out. Like genetically, you probably can't handle gluten, especially gluten in this country. Dairy, you need to take that out. Those are things right there that could reduce antibodies and could help your thyroid function better. Mm-hmm. And that has nothing to do with anything coming out of a bottle, right? And there's like all these other things that are connected to the thyroid that a normal, traditional Western medicine doctor wouldn't look at. They wouldn't even pull it. They wouldn't even have a conversation with you about nutrition, typically. But a functional medicine doctor is going to not only pull all those panels and look at the body as a whole and how it's functioning and as a whole, but they're also going to be looking at stress levels, your diet, what are you eating? Like, are you sleeping? All these things that we all know in the functional medicine side can affect thyroid or can affect whatever else is going on. So that's, you know, the functional medicine side really looks at the whole picture and tries to get to the root cause of it, as opposed to a normal doctor would typically you find out if you're in a normal range. And if you're not, they're going to prescribe you a pill to get you in the normal range. And that's kind of where it ends for them.
Well, and that too, I mean, when you get that pill to get you in the normal range, you're probably going to feel better, but it's also not necessarily looking at what's going on underneath. Yeah. So, I mean, and there absolutely are times. My sister was on recently, and she was talking about how she's worked with a lot of functional medicine doctors. She cracks me up. I love her so much. But she's very all natural and holistic, and I just love her so much. But she went through something recently, and she had to get on antibiotics, and she hadn't been on antibiotics in years, and she was really upset about it. And then she took like part of it, and then she's like, oh, I don't need to take the rest of these. And she didn't. And then she got sick again. And she's like, dang it, I did need to take it. I did need to listen to the doctor, you know? So like, there's definitely, you know, need for that as well. But it's just, I just like urge people just to educate yourself, just to find out what could possibly really be going on, you know, with your body. If you're not treating it the way that it needs to be treated, or taking care of it, or fueling it the way that it needs to be fueled, it's not going to work right for you. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think no one's like arguing how important like medicine is. Right. And it 1,000% saves lives. But no one can argue with the fact that it's severely overprescribed. And we are just grazing over very simple fixes like lifestyle nutrition and fitness, for example, that could save our country a lot of money in healthcare.
Right.
And could just make you healthier, like truly healthier, without relying on any prescription you have to pick up at CVS or whatever. So,
well,
like C-sections. It's like C-sections like save lives. Like no one is arguing that. But the C-section rate is very high. So like you can't like just ignore like, oh, well, the C-section happens, it's normal. Like, no, we know for a fact that doctors want convenient births, you know? So there are many OBs out there that push a C-section if a birth doesn't happen in a certain time frame, 5 p.m. or like whatever, you know, it is. But at the same time, like 1,000%, C-sections save lives, like period. They do. It's just about, I think, looking at the whole picture and being just open-minded to different solutions.
Right. Well, and I was sharing with Nancy before this that I recently found out a crazy statistic that blew my mind. And it was that the United States, we take up 10% of the world's population, but we prescribe 90% of the drugs. So if there's so many statistics and things out there, so it actually is a problem. And we do overprescribe here. And I don't know. It was crazy because I was at a fundraiser for kids who overdosed on drugs, and most of them had gotten a football injury in high school. They were prescribed like oxycodone. They got addicted, and they ended up overdosing and dying. And it was super, super sad, you know, watching these stories and these things that are happening in our country because we have the highest rate of that. So, it just kind of blew my mind. So I know people might be like, I don't know. Some people get like super mad when you're like, oh, we're overprescribed. And it's like, but it actually is true. Like, it's a statistic. All right. So I want to touch on, because you do the mamas to be, and then you work with women throughout the pregnancy.
Yes.
And then post.
Yes. So I do all three. I have a membership site that I opened a few months ago. It's called moveyorbump.mom. So it's for 4 phases. You can be trying to conceive, you can be currently pregnant, you can be in your 4th trimester, or you can be a mom anywhere in motherhood, no matter how old your kids are. And then your nutrition and your fitness programs that are delivered to you every month are programmed for your specific phase. Mm-hmm. So, for example, if you're in the TTC phase, if you're in any phase, when you log in, you see in your fitness section, you see an intro packet that describes to you why we're doing what we're doing and gives you all the research to back it up. For trying to conceive phase, for example, we need to train at high intensity interval training, but we don't really like to go over 80% because research has shown that it does or can impact fertility. So for that group, for example, that's just one thing that I tell them and that we monitor, and I program workouts to kind of keep that in mind. Pregnancy, obviously, there's a lot of misconceptions around pregnancy fitness. So in my site, you're not using 3-pound dumbbells, you're not doing yoga, you're not doing Pilates. We're really, truly working out. We're doing interval training, you're doing strength training, you're doing safe core workouts, you're doing posture, you're doing glute work. And we're doing specific warm-ups. So activate the core and all these things that are necessary, helpful, and, will give you the best results and also give baby the best results. All research-based. The whole site is research-based. And then your nutrition section. So that, the fitness obviously is for all 4 phases, and so is the nutrition. Nutrition section, you get weekly meal calendars. So your meals are laid out for you. Recipes, grocery lists, everything is there for you. And you can access me for coaching, customization, whatever you need. So we have about 750 members right now. So we just opened actually 2 months ago. So
that's
it's awesome. Really good. Yeah, it's going really good. And I think it just really, my goal was to change the industry because there's nothing for moms in this phase. I mean, if you're looking for pregnancy workouts, you're very rarely going to find a real workout. You're going to find a warm-up that's super conservative and, to be honest with you, is not intense enough to offer you the maximum benefits that research has shown us for you and for baby. Mm-hmm. So just walking is not going to get baby the same, cognitive stimulation or health and development as doing a moderately intense exercise program. So that was my goal, is to offer safe, effective workouts that were actually workouts for all phases to help moms post-pregnancy properly get back into exercise, properly heal their pelvic floor, diastasis, abs, core activation, all these things that are a huge problem in the 4th trimester. And just really have a safe place that was, have an expert in there helping them do so to help women prioritize self-care, because that's really a big issue in this country. Is moms tend to put themselves on the back burner, and then we end up depleted and unhappy. And that's not how it should be. We're the sun of our universe, of our family. The sun needs to shine. Mm-hmm. So my goal is to help give them the tools to help them do that.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I do agree. I feel I've looked into some of that stuff, and everything is pretty mellow as far as the workouts go. One thing I've wanted to start, which I haven't yet, is I love to dance, and I want to start a sexy mama dance class where you do get down with your bad self and just for fun though. I want to take a minute to tell you about the first comprehensive fertility hormone test for women that you can take at home, and that is Modern Fertility. We're waiting longer to have kids. We've got stuff to do, but it's posing a problem. 1 in 6 couples have trouble conceiving, and we have all the tools to prevent pregnancy, but we need more information to help us plan for it. Modern Fertility gives you customized reports to help you understand your fertility through your hormones. You'll have a personal fertility team to help you understand your results and make a game plan. You get access to a team of fertility nurses, a weekly webinar, and their online community of women just like you. This is why Modern Fertility is so awesome. It's convenient. You get to take it at home. It's cost effective. Proactive fertility hormone tests often aren't covered by insurances and can cost upwards of $1,500. But at just $159, Modern Fertility gives you access to the information you need to help you plan ahead. You also receive a customized report dashboard. The test can tell you if you have more or less eggs than average and what you could expect from an IVF or egg freezing. It has so much information. A personal fertility team comes with it as well. You get all of your questions answered with one of their fertility nurses, and you get to join their weekly webinars. They call it an egginar, and you can be involved in the community of women just like you. You get peace of mind, whether you want kids now or in the future, and they have so many resources to map things out on your terms. The quality of it is also amazing. All the tests are conducted in a CLIA certified lab, and Modern Fertility's team of physicians and clinical advisors leads some of the nation's top fertility clinics. I actually just took the test today. I received it a few weeks ago, but I had to wait till the right time in my cycle to take this test so that they could get the best results. And I had Vito prick my finger for me today, and it didn't hurt. And I'm super excited to get my results back. But on top of that, I've just been learning so much since I've been involved in this community. I've had people reach out to me. Someone from Modern Fertility just contacted me today just to see how I was doing, if I had any questions on the test or anything like that. So it's so cool that they provide you with this community where you get to learn about your body. You get to just take action in whatever phase of life that you're in and just having knowledge about your body. And I want to give this offer to you as well. Visit modernfertility.com/babes, take their fertility quiz and get $20 off your Modern Fertility test. That's modernfertility.com/babes to take the fertility quiz and get $20 off. modernfertility.com/babes. So I guess I have a couple questions then, because you said that you bust a lot of myths with this workout thing, especially with pregnancy. And I think a lot of women are concerned because, let's say, they didn't get on the health kick before. You know, they don't work out that much. And now that they're pregnant, they're like, crap, like, I really want to take care of myself for this baby. And they've been told, if you worked out before you're pregnant, you can work out while. But if you didn't work out before, you probably shouldn't start while pregnant.
So that's a myth.
Okay.
So the truth is, if you did not work out before pregnancy and you want to work out during pregnancy, you can work up to moderately intense levels, but you have to stay at moderate. Mm-hmm. You can't go above your lactate threshold very much, which would be like a vigorous level. But you can and should, even if you're overweight. Mm-hmm. So that's like another thing that people say. Like, if you're overweight and you haven't worked out before pregnancy, like, it's not safe to work out during pregnancy. And that's false. Even the ACOG has, in their updated current guidelines, there should be unrestricted exercise for pregnant women having normal pregnancies. Now, if you're not having a normal pregnancy, let's say something's going on, you have triplets, you have some sort of other health issue, you have placenta previa, like, then yes, we're going to have to scale back, mostly because we don't know. There's no research to tell us whether it's safe or not. We've never done a research study with 300 moms that have placenta previa and have them squat with heavy weight and see if the placenta erupts. Like, no. Like, no one ever is going to agree to that study, you know? So we have to be conservative in certain situations like that. But if you're classified as having a normal pregnancy, no matter how much you weigh or how much, you know, or how fit you were going into pregnancy, you absolutely should work up to a moderate level strength training and cardiovascular training during your pregnancy. Now, if you're an athlete during pregnancy, and an athlete being you have trained to a high fitness level pre-pregnancy. So like for me, for example, and a lot of my clients, I train them leading up to pregnancy to an athlete's level, essentially. Now, they're not being killed or anything, you know,
right.
but like they are checking all the boxes and getting to a more advanced fitness level. For them, they can train at vigorous, high intensity levels throughout pregnancy without any added risk for baby. In fact, there's a ton of benefits that come along with that for them.
Mm-hmm.
So the rule is, if you didn't work out before pregnancy, you can work out to a moderate level during pregnancy. Then if you did work out before pregnancy and you were fit, you can basically do whatever you want during pregnancy and work out at vigorous levels. The hard rules during pregnancy are this. You shouldn't be working out above your lactic threshold for longer than 10 minutes. There were a couple studies that showed that was just too much stress on baby because they didn't recover. So that would be like, no one's really doing that. I mean, you would have to be pushing very hard for like a very long time, like a sprint. Let's say you'd have to be sprinting for 10 minutes straight. Like no one really does that. Yeah. Now, a deconditioned person could probably ramp up to that level of exertion way easier, but we tell them to stop at moderate.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So that's a hard rule. The other hard rule is forward flexion, which like everyone knows. And that's not anything to do with baby. That's like crunches, like ab work crunches. And it's not a risk for baby. That's a risk for mom and diastasis, which is ab separation, all that stuff. So she wants to be careful of that. And those are really the only hard rules that we have. I mean, typically mostly everything that I see, women are not working out hard enough during pregnancy, and they're working out way too hard post-pregnancy. It's like baby comes out and they're like off to the races. Wow. And you're like, wait.
Yeah.
No, needs to be totally flip-flopped. Like if you work out at moderate intense levels, like worked out a little bit more during pregnancy, you're going to give baby all kinds of benefits. There's so much research now. And that's the thing is I just invite, like, don't take my word for it. Get on PubMed and like get on the internet and like start reading. Like Dr. Clapp's work is very clear. Started in 1985. That was the year I was born. You know, like this research is not new. This is not new research. It's just not being heard.
Right.
And that's problem.
Well, and for clarification, when she was saying the ACOG, that's the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists. So that is run by obstetricians and gynecologists. And as a doula, we call it ACOG. We use tons of myth busters off of there because women have been told so many things. If you go to their website, you will read so many. It's the most like up to date that doctors are saying are okay for pregnancy, that obstetricians and gynecologists are saying as a pregnant woman, this is okay for you. And if you just read through a lot of things on their website, like you will like bust myths in your mind that you thought about pregnancy that you've been told.
The heart rate one is a great example. That was taken out of ACOG guidelines over 20 years ago. And I still have women write me every single week that say that their OB told them that they can't go above 150 beats per minute or 140 or 155 or like whatever. It's like, it's irrelevant. The doctor that came up with that, like right after that was released, he came out and said like, this is wrong. That should not have been, it needs to be taken out. Like we were like misunderstanding kind of what happened. Like it's irrelevant. It's irrelevant and it's totally irrelevant. Yet it's this thing that like still lives on, you know, it's just super frustrating because it really scares women out of having a fit pregnancy. And if you don't have a fit pregnancy, I'm sorry, but you are missing out on great benefits that you could give your child. And not just during pregnancy, but like these are things in research that's showing to affect them well into their adulthood. These are long-term, lifelong benefits that we could be helping them with. And there's OBs and society and whatever that are just, they're robbing that from women. So like, that's why I stand up and speak about it. And that's why I post my workouts from pregnancy. And I'm always like citing research and like pushing, not because I want anyone to feel bad about what they did during their past pregnancies, but because I want moms going into pregnancy to feel good and educated and not fearful of having a healthy pregnancy. And having a fit pregnancy is having a healthy pregnancy.
Yeah. Well, and the good thing is like, if your doctor is saying that, then if you have this other knowledge, then you can be like, oh, well, I was reading on the ACOG site that they actually said this. So I'm wondering why you're telling me this. Like, just stay curious. Like, it's so good to go in informed and knowing things for yourself, because then you can ask those questions and it opens up a conversation. And, like, maybe, I don't know, like, it's just so good to learn about these things for yourself so that you're not just going based on whatever you've been told. And that's not just with pregnancy, it's with everything,
And that's my goal, is to just give women the knowledge for them to like have as a tool in their toolbox when they are in their doctor's office. If someone's telling you not to do something, ask why. Ask for the research that supports it. I mean, I did that all the time. If my doctor said something, and I would just, nicely, gently push back and say, like, I would like to see, like, is there any research that supports that? Because like what I've seen is X, Y, and Z. And, it's not like you have to go like tit for tat with your doctor, but at the end of the day, like, you're there for a long time. I mean, you're working with them for at least a year during each pregnancy. So, you want to feel like you're getting the most out of that pregnancy, and getting educated and learning it yourself is like the biggest benefit you can give yourself, because then that will give you peace of mind and confidence to have conversations like that with your doctor. Yeah,
absolutely. And I feel like it's so good that you're sharing this information, because I know a lot of women who, as I mentioned before, now that they're pregnant, maybe they've just we live in this crazy, stressful, on the go society. So it's like, oh, I'll work out later. I'll work out later. And now they're pregnant. Like, oh crap. Like, I really do want to start working out now, but they're like, I don't think that I can. So it's awesome that you have a program out there and that there is research out there that shows like, no, you absolutely can. Like, just because you think it's too late, it's not. Now's never too late, like, then just start now. That's great. So I think that that's awesome that you're sharing this information, because I think that it's been very misconstrued.
Yeah. And it's really overdue. I mean, getting all this information and education out there and programs out there that are like the programs I offer, it is so, so overdue. I can't even believe that we're in 2019 and the things that are still going on and what OBs are still saying. And I mean, especially with like post-pregnancy, for example, it's like you go to your 6-week checkup and they're like, okay, you can like gently roll back into exercise and do, just gradually do whatever you used to do. It was like, no, like hard no. Like that's not what the conversation should be at all, and, women are really scared of like diastasis or whatever, but we have to understand that 99% of women in their third trimester have diastasis. It is a normal part of pregnancy. That is how we make room for baby, you know? Now, whether you heal your diastasis on your own spontaneously throughout the first 12 weeks postpartum, now that is like, we don't know. 40% or 60% do, 40% don't. And we don't fully know why that is. But what we do know is that there's ways that you can heal your diastasis. And, working out during pregnancy is not going to increase your chance of getting diastasis as long as you're being smart about your training, which again, I think it's really important for someone that maybe isn't really knowledgeable about fitness to work with someone who is, so that they know that they're not increasing their chances of, let's say, pelvic floor dysfunction or ab separation or whatever. So ab separation really can be totally fixed. We just need to work with someone who knows how to fix it. And, that's the other part, is that women don't really know they don't know how to assess if they have ab separation or they have like coning, for example. Like coning is like a form of diastasis. So you just need to like, again, get educated. And like, if you need to invest, like, I feel like women just need to look at this phase of life as more of like an investment. Like, like maybe I do need to work with a trainer for right now, or I do need to pay someone to help with nutrition for right now. And this is going to be a short-term investment for the next 6 months to make sure that I can fully recover, or that I can have a healthy pregnancy, or I can go into pregnancy, with the health and the fitness that I know is going to be best for my body and my baby. So, the diastasis thing is interesting because there's so many programs out there, heal your abs after pregnancy. And it's like just a bunch of exercises to do. And some of the exercises are good, and some of the exercises are bad. But at the end of the day, the exercise, regardless if it's good or bad, is only a very, very small part of healing your core post-pregnancy. It starts with the foundation. And that is the problem. That's why when OBs say you can go back into the gym 6 weeks postpartum after a C-section or after a vaginal birth and just ease back into what you were doing and like everything will kind of heal itself. Like that's not true. Like by any means. Like if someone has a motor control issue or a poor movement pattern that they have developed throughout pregnancy, which happens so often, you can have, even if you have a perfect program, you might not get results. You might end up creating diastasis post-pregnancy. You might end up making it worse. You might end up hurting your pelvic floor or just never healing in general and just kind of staying where you are. And 5 years down the road, you still have ab separation. So like looking at the body post-pregnancy as a whole is really important, and building the foundation post-pregnancy is really important. And that starts with breath work. That starts with your engagement pattern of your pelvic floor, because your core is a whole unit. It works together. So, you know, when you breathe in, you like release pelvic floor, and it should work as like a pump. And when you exhale, you engage. So it slowly comes up and down. A lot of women, almost, I would say most women have that backwards. So they're actually every breath 20,000 times a day, because we take about 20,000 breaths a day. They're actually putting more pressure on their pelvic floor than they should be, and it's out of sync. So it's core dysfunction. So if you go into pregnancy with core dysfunction, like anything else that's wrong, it's going to get worse during pregnancy, unless you're really working with someone to correct it. And I have seen women improve during pregnancy, but most women don't have that knowledge to be able to do it on their own.
Yeah.
Post-pregnancy, now you have posture because you're breastfeeding. You're imbalanced. Your posterior chain's not strong enough. Your weight's being pulled forward because you've been pulled forward for the last 10 months. And now it just gets worse. You know, you have forward head because you're looking down all the time now. And like, there's just all these other postural issues that come along with it. So you need to build a foundation again, post-pregnancy, look at the posture, strengthen posture muscles. And that just doesn't go along with, okay, do some plank rows and like whatever. Like, no, there's like, you really have to take a step back, take a step forward.
Yeah.
So I tell my clients all the time, we have to slow down in the fourth trimester so you can speed up after the fourth trimester. And that's like the big problem, is that like people scale back so much during pregnancy. The second the baby's out, they're like, I miss my boot camp class. I miss this. Like, I got to go back to spin. Like, I got this weight to lose. And it's like, I can take care of the weight with nutrition. Don't you worry about that.
Yeah.
Like, I'll get the weight off with nutrition. But let's slow down and make sure we're really healing your core, so that you can work out smart after this is over. And healing your core can take anywhere from 6 weeks to 18 months, studies show. The linea alba can take up to 18 months to fully heal. And that is based off of lots of things, but genetics included, nutrition, all those things. So yeah, the fourth trimester is a really interesting time period too. And I think I see a lot of misinformation in that phase as well. But that's just, again, we have to just get educated and get the word out, and slowly but surely, we'll get there.
I've been practicing those breaths since you mentioned it, and I do think that I was doing it opposite.
Yeah, it's so common. Everyone does.
Yeah.
But like, it's so good for you to learn now, right? Because you don't have pressure in your abdomen now. You don't have anything really changing your body right now. It's not like you're gaining a bunch of weight out of nowhere. But when that does happen, now you have the baby's weight on your pelvic floor, so that pressure is going to get even more. And then you have all the extra fluid, extra blood, placenta, like all these things, like adds up. So then when women are like, oh, you shouldn't lift heavy weights during pregnancy because it's going to ruin your pelvic floor, that's not what ruins your pelvic floor. What ruins your pelvic floor is 20,000 times a day having the incorrect breathing pattern that's gradually chipping away at the strength of your pelvic floor and the function of your pelvic floor. Then you go and do something in the gym that is just going to make it even worse, right?
Yeah.
So it's almost never the exercise. Women are smart. Like, you're not going to go in and do something crazy and like do a 1 rep max pregnant. I mean, everything in all of our intuition tells us probably not the best idea.
Yeah.
But what can happen is throughout what I tell my clients is like, what you do in the gym is going to do way less damage than what you do outside of the gym. That's only 1 hour of your day in the gym. 23 other hours. You can either be strengthening your core with every breath, or you can be weakening your core with every breath. And that's what I try to get them to understand. And if they can have that aha moment, then it's like, then they see the value. Okay, I do need to slow down and learn this, and learn proper posture. I need to loosen up my hip flexors because they're pulling me into an anterior pelvic tilt. And like, you don't want to go into pregnancy with a bad anterior pelvic tilt because it's only going to get worse. So there's all these things that have really nothing to do with, okay, do 3 sets of squats, do this and this. It has everything to do with how you're moving through that squat, how you're breathing through that squat, how you're activating and engaging through that squat. Like those things are going to do so much more for you than doing the actual squat, if that makes sense.
No, that makes perfect sense. And I feel like I'm learning a lot right now. And I'm going to have to hire you to start getting me ready for pregnancy because I'm like, man, I think I'm working out wrong. I think I'm breathing wrong. I think well, and I know you had mentioned before, so you have a different program too for women who are recovering from C-sections because that's a whole different recovery.
Yes. So I'm a 2-time C-section mom, not by choice. It just my first birth, I went natural, no medication, me, my doula, and my husband for 20 hours. And it just kind of went sideways. I ended up with a C-section, basically. It was a really long, exhausting birth. And I didn't even think about a C-section, like planning up to the birth. Like I did the hypnobabies and I did the whole thing. I mean, I was like all in. And I'm like, I can deal with any pain. Like I'm used to being uncomfortable in the gym or like whatever. And birth doesn't really work like that. I just don't know any better. It's like if you kind of grit and bear through every contraction, it actually like hurts more than helps.
Right, it does.
To, like, surrender to it. And I just couldn't do that. And even if I would have been able to do that, I just don't know. Like I had a 9-pound baby. He was sunny side up. He was tilted. Like my doctor was like, Nancy, like you are so narrow in your pelvic inlet. I think if you could have done it, it would have destroyed your pelvic floor.
Oh my gosh.
Which is a very real thing that happens. Like I have women all the time. It's like, I had a vaginal birth, but I wish I had a C-section because I had to push for 4 hours and I have prolapse now. And like, that's a thing, that could be a thing.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that you should opt for a C-section. I'm just saying like, there's 2 sides of this story.
Absolutely.
And in a C-section, it was devastating, very traumatic birth for me. I had a lot of mental trauma around my first birth. Like, I couldn't even talk about it for like months. It was like it was like terrible. And I know obviously a lot about the body, but I had never really studied C-sections and recovering from them. But when I started trying to recover from mine, I realized there's literally nothing there. Nothing. There's no standard of care. There's no physical therapist. There's nothing. And I noticed immediately after a C-section, I had severe pain with sex. I had lower back pain. My internal organs felt off. I had the urge to pee a lot, but I didn't have to pee. There wasn't a lot of urine in there. And like all these things, I'm like, this is coming with a C-section. I know. It's just like intuition, I guess I knew. So I started just doing a lot of reading. I started speaking to like knocking down doors basically. And I learned a ton over the course of like 2 years as I was healing from my C-section. And I just realized that there's even OBs know nothing about what happens like as the healing happens post C-section. They're like at 6 weeks, they're like, okay, like you're good. Your body kind of just will take care of everything. And that's not true. It's just not true. Like your body is open, your internal organs are opened up and exposed to air, which alone makes them sticky. So then they stick to each other.
Oh, so man.
Instead of gliding like this, like yours do right now, after a C-section, they get stuck. So that's an issue. You have to go in and separate. And by going in, I mean either internally through the vagina or working with someone that's really good through the skin.
Yeah.
And kind of separating everything and kind of repositioning things.
This sounds so uncomfortable to me.
It's not that bad. It's worse having like pain with sex and stuff. Like when you have like that kind of pain, it totally changes like your sexual relationship with your husband. And it's like, you're like dreading having sex because of how bad it hurts. Yeah. And really it's all adhesions. So like, when your body's cut open, it's not just your skin that's cut open. I mean, muscle, organs, like everything.
Tissue,
cut.
yeah.
So then that all heals together and, we form adhesions to heal, which is good. That's our body's way of like fixing the trauma. but those adhesions tend to like lay in like these really weird ways that causes restriction of the skin, of the muscles, of the organs, and it can cause all kinds of issues, like things I mentioned, but lots of other things. And until you kind of, go in with massage techniques on all 3 layers, not just skin, but all the way down to the organ layer, and kind of separate things and get the adhesions and the tissues kind of laying in the right direction. Like if you think of like a hair being in a big, like your hair being in a big knot, after you brush it out, it's all straight again.
Right.
That's kind of what we want to do with the tissue, the adhesions that are happening post C-section. If you don't do that, then you can have a C-section palps, but you can have all kinds of other issues. You can have TMJ, you can have chronic headaches, you can have back pain, all kinds of stuff, like things that you would never even put together that can be coming from a C-section. So another thing is the C-section horizontal incision goes right across 2 major lymph nodes. So your lymphatic system is really important. We need the lymphatic system to kind of take out the bad and get everything out of your blood, right? So the plasma, I guess. And if that gets clogged, then all of a sudden there is a flow issue from the bottom half to the top of your body. It always gets clogged for a C-section mom. So we need to go in and we need to unclog it. Now, if you ask your OB, like, where can I do lymphatic drainage? They're probably going to be like, what are you talking about? And why would you do that? It's just not something that they were taught in medical school. It's just not something that the lymphatic system. So, the 2 major things about healing from a C-section is tissue work and lymphatic drainage. You really, it should be standard of care 1,000% that you do both. And you need to do it for like months. Like my last C-section was 15 months ago. And I still see a PT like twice a month, just kind of for maintenance work. And I also have like high expectations, so I like everything to be like as perfect as possible. But if we could just even do like a handful of sessions, and you can do tissue work on yourself. I talk about that in my C-section plan. Another thing is the trauma that comes along with the C-section. Most moms don't want a C-section, and like if they're going in for a vaginal birth and it's a C-section, they're like, whatever, like baby and me arrived safely, so it's fine. But for a lot of them, even though they're okay with how it happens, like it's okay that I had a C-section, they still hold on to trauma from either it was, and that trauma really is held in our tissues. So we really need to heal the emotional trauma to heal the physical trauma, if that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense.
Yeah. So moms, well, one, like if you can't touch your C-section scar, very big indication you have mental trauma attached to the surgery, which is 1,000% expected. Like you shouldn't feel, I had severe trauma after my first, like I had to go speak to a therapist about it and like work through it. I felt like such a failure in so many ways, and it's at the end of the day, it's a biological process that we did not get to complete. And that is really what I think people are misunderstanding or not really thinking of. Like we did not get to complete a biological process that our body has an urge to complete. So we really need to work through the mental side of that. And you can also work with like breathing and like stress relieving techniques and stuff to just help you be more accepting. And, there's even like birth trauma specialists that will take you back, like through exercises, take you back to the birth and like have you complete the birth how you wanted it to be completed. And they'll make you visualize it, because really at the end of the day, like whatever you perceive reality as is your reality. So if you really wanted a vaginal birth, you can, like for me, like I went back in and visualized having a vaginal birth with my first, because that's what I really wanted. My second, I was much more open to a C-section. I don't feel slated. I don't feel anything from that. Like I was totally open to it. The first time I wasn't. So, for me, like I went back in and went through these exercises and visualized that birth differently and visualized it how I wanted it to be and how I always had imagined it would be. And that helped me so much get over that birth. And, I think all these things are never talked about with, from an OB's perspective. Midwives and doulas, I think, are much more open to like that side of things. But it's just not talked about like enough, I think. And especially for C-section moms, 33% of us have C-sections and there's nothing to help us. So that's why I created the C-section plan. It's like, 30,000 words over like 125 pages of text. And it gives you breathing techniques, exercises, core activation work. And then it gives you all like the main parts of healing through nutrition, mental, internal, external, tissue work, lymphatic drainage, cranial work, like all these things that are really important for a C-section mom to be knowledgeable or even try to implement as she does her recovery process to help her have a full recovery post C-section.
That is so amazing. And it is so needed. Like you said, there's not enough work out there or help out there or education out there for women healing through that. And especially if it is something that you didn't plan for, you went into it expecting one way and it came a different way. There is a lot of trauma that can dwell around that. And I'm sure 100% affects your healing. So that's so amazing that you developed this program.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
It was a big passion project for me.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's cool. It's also, it's awesome when you get to like pour your heart into something,
Yeah, totally. And you can go to csectionmoms.com is a website that I own. And I talk a lot more about C-sections there. And there's different assessments you can do to see if you are suffering from side effects of your C-section to help you kind of figure it out. There's little quizzes you can take and stuff. And then it gives you a lot more information about the plan. You can also get the plan there, or you can just get the tissue guide there, which just teaches you how to do tissue work to yourself.
Yeah, that's awesome. Do you ever talk about, I guess, the timeline of healing in between births?
At least a year.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously it doesn't happen all the time.
Well,
and
right. The things happen that you don't plan for.
Yeah. But when you think about postnatal depletion, when you think about rehealing your core, when you think about regulating hormones, because we don't even want to, not only do we need to get you not depleted, we need to get you fully replenished with backup stores for pregnancy. Mm-hmm. So it's not just about bringing you back to normal. We need you normal plus some that's you can grab and use for baby. So typically it's 12 months. At least, but sometimes it can take more if you didn't get started right away or you're really stressed out or there's other things. But typically for full core rehab, for full nutrition, it's about a year.
Yeah. I feel like that's important to talk about too. And obviously everybody's journey is so different, but I think like you mentioned before, as moms, we just don't take care, so many women, you become a mom and then your kids are first, everybody else is first, but realizing I need to make sure I'm okay, that I am replenished, that, and especially if you're super excited to have kids, you can just kind of get into that and you're like, we're ready to do this again. And it's maybe you are, but your body might not be.
Exactly. Yeah. And I feel like women feel so rushed, let's bang out these babies. It's let's take your time because we want you to be in this really optimal place to have a baby because your stress levels and your gut health, all these things, we know more now than ever. So we know that that's directly affecting your children. So it's just take a beat, let yourself recover. It's hard. Being a mom is hard. The first year I think for me, for sure, but I think for most people is just the hardest time. So going that first year and being pregnant, wow. I mean, that would just be a lot. I mean, sometimes life happens and it happens, whatever, but in a perfect world, a year is a good time.
Yeah. Yeah. So for the women listening and stuff, if they want to find more about your programs and connect with you that way, how would they do that?
So you can find me on Instagram at Nancy Anderson Fit, FIT. And then you can find out all about my programs for pre-pregnancy, pregnancy, and beyond on moveyourbump.mom, which is my membership site. And I'm actually going to offer a free 7-day trial to that site if anyone's interested. So you can go to moveyourbump.mom, and then at checkout, as you're purchasing your membership, you just use the code BABES7, BABES 7. And then I'll give you a free week, and you can just go in and check it out, do some workouts with me, look at the nutrition, and kind of get a feel for what we do there. So whether, you would think about joining in 6 months when you get pregnant or when you're trying to get pregnant, you just kind of see what it's all about.
Yeah. Thank you for offering that. I know I'm going to check it out because like I said, Vito and I, we've really, really talked about this next year, wanting to get ready to be parents because we know it's first of all going to change our entire life. And if I have things that are making me feel like crap now, like you said, it's going to be 10 times worse when I'm pregnant, and going into motherhood. So I do think that that's so important, especially because people think, oh, I'm not a mom yet, or I'm not whatever. And it's like, but do you plan on being? Because now is the best time to start,
Totally. Yeah. And then any of my programs, my 30-day slim down that I mentioned, C-section plan, post-pregnancy ab rehab, which is also included Move Your Bump, but all of that could be found on my site, which is nancyAndersonFit.com.
Awesome. And I'm going to, on the Miraculous Mamas Instagram and Facebook page, I will post all of this information as well. So Thank you so much for being with me today.
You're welcome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. So guys, don't forget to subscribe and share this podcast. There was so much information in it. And so there was something in here for everyone. So absolutely share it. You can join the Facebook group, Miraculous Mamas. And don't forget to check out the Patreon where it's a subscription based and half of the proceeds are going to women in need. So thank you guys so much for listening and we'll see you next week.
This podcast is brought to you by Wave Podcast Network. Check out all of our shows, including the Brain Candy Podcast, I Don't Get It, Coffee Convos, and Let's Talk About It.